What's up guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Trevor Steele, and in today's video, I want to talk about our game changer toggles.
I'm just happy to be alive today.
It's been a while now since we released the initial game changer toggle back in December of 2023, nearly a year ago, and we have since changed some things that I want to discuss in today's video. To quickly recap what these toggles are, for those of you that are unfamiliar, these are what we call the game changer toggles, which are a toggle designed to be a smaller overall design to fit 2 fingers with a lower and an upper holding position. You've got a brake line attachment point and a tip steer attachment point, which allows you to give a twist effect to activating just tip steer if you would like to. Some of the reasons why you would enjoy this toggle is, first off, the smaller overall design, the upper and lower holding position, the really strong magnet, and the overall less bulk of said toggle. Since the release of this toggle, we have changed a few things. We've made the internals of this toggle ever so slightly bigger to fit a slightly larger hand, and we've made the upper holding position ever so slightly larger as well. We've also made huge improvements to our magnet. We have gone away with the plastic 3D printed guard we originally designed these toggles with, and have now transitioned to sewn-in magnets. Now these magnets are not only larger, more powerful, but also grab so much harder. Our initial toggles, I'll be completely honest, had a really weak magnet, which is why we've made it such a big deal to really reinforce these. These were so strong, we even had to reduce the strength of the magnets to make it more realistic. Overly strong magnets can be annoying as you're grabbing it and constantly having to pull it off in flight. So we have actually had to make them smaller and weaker than at one point. The other thing that we have done for these toggles is reinforce the stitching and overall strength of the toggle itself. We did have one case where a pilot was pulling very hard acrobatic maneuvers over a long period of time, and he was able to pull the actual sewn-in piece out of the toggle. We have since reinforced the toggle, increased the stitching and strength of the toggle, and have strength tested it itself. In our strength tests, we were able to snap the brake line long before we were able to snap the toggle itself. Meaning, if you're pulling so hard you're breaking the brake line, you still are not yet breaking the toggle. So you have to try really hard to break this toggle. We haven't had many issues with them fraying or wearing out, or ultimately wearing themselves down over a long period of time. At this point, we've probably got thousands and thousands of hours across the board on these toggles, and there are only 1, maybe 2 cases of them pulling out, which reinforced, but none of them fraying over time from the lines. One of the other things that we have done since the initial release of this is all of the color options and versions that we have released. We now have 6 different color options for these toggles. We have blue, we have red, we have green, we have orange, we have black, and we now have pink, which I know it's not for everybody, but I think the pink just looks so cool. This is version 1 toggle, and I'll show a picture of the version 2 toggle. The version 1 toggle is the initial released toggle and is my preference over the version 2 toggle. I want to talk a little bit about the differences between the version 1 and the version 2. The version 2 toggle is what I call the U-shape with a line across, and is the original design of the game changer toggle before ultimately leading to this design. The reason that we shifted away from the version 2 toggle and ended up mostly with this, and the reason why it's version 1, is because the version 2 toggle is really great for ripping around. The larger spread between your brake line and tip steer line gives you more of a twist effect, activating just tip steer versus brake and tip steer. But the separation between the two means as you apply the brake itself, the platform, or the piece that your finger sits on, gets slanted, and you end up pressing into your middle finger a lot more than your pointer finger, which over a long period of time for a cross-country, everyday kind of flying style is not very comfortable. That is why we ended up switching to this, where we took that U and squished it together, giving the same upper platform, which is a serious game changer of the toggles, but without the uncomfortable lower platform for the everyday cruising. This toggle allows you to pull and receive equal amounts of pressure on both fingers versus heavy amount of pressure on your middle finger. But that version 2 toggle does also have a reduced distance from the platform, as I call it, to the brake line. You've got at least 1 or 2 inches less distance, which essentially means as you go to pull your brakes for flare, launch, landing, wing overs, whatever. You get more input for the same amount of movement because there is smaller distance from your finger to the brake line. Now, one of the big advantages of the toggles, and I would argue the biggest advantage of the toggle, is that reduced distance from what we call the platform to the brake line. On a standard toggle, that can be as much as 7 inches of distance from your finger to the brake line, plus whatever slack is in the brake line itself before the brake starts to engage. Oftentimes on standard wings, you're pulling brakes way down here to get any activation of brake or tip steer. With these toggles, we took that 7 inches down to 4 inches, meaning from my finger right here to the brake line itself is only 4 inches of distance. The version 2 toggle is more like 2 inches of distance, reducing that even more. That makes a big difference because then as you go to apply your brakes and flare for landing, you are receiving 3 inches or more of flare authority without having adjusted brake lengths at all. That alone is a huge benefit of these toggles as you're receiving more input with less effort, as we say. To add to that is our upper holding position right here. This allows you to hold right on the brake line as if you're a paraglider pilot taking a wrap. There's just something to holding the brake line in your fingers. The connection to that wing, the feeling you get through those lines is unmatched by holding a toggle down below. This upper holding position now gives you an additional 4 inches of flare authority without changing brake lengths at all because now you're holding the brake line. So all of a sudden you went from 7 inches of distance to 4 inches to 0 inches. Now this upper holding position can be difficult for newer pilots to get the hang of, and people have let me know that they prefer to hold it like this, which is going to do the same job. To give you some perspective, in flight, your tip steer line is going to come out over here, your brake line is going to come out here, and the toggle is going to sit something like this in flight, where you just reach up and grab. Now, for those of you that aren't sure what this piece right here is, this goes on your riser and is what you attach the brake to for this stowing. So that piece wouldn't be in the picture when this toggle is flying up in the sky where you reach up and grab. Now, I fly an off-grid aviation throttle with my left hand, and I use these 2 fingers, sometimes the third, for said toggle. The idea with this platform is that I still can hold the brake toggle up top while being able to squeeze the throttle with this finger. Now, I have relatively small hands, and I don't have a problem holding this upper position. Some people find it a little more tricky to hold. I have found it is something you just need to spend some time playing with to really get a feel for. But this upper holding position, especially on landing, makes a big difference in receiving the full flare authority of that glider. Overall, these toggles have been really loved by the pilots on the marketplace. Having the smaller toggle removes a lot of what we call the slop in the brake lines. Not only are you reducing the size from finger to brake line by 3 inches, going from 7 to 4, but you will get none of that bungee of the stock standard toggles that you see out there. We played a lot with the size of this toggle, with the platform as we call it, the size of the insert in here, the size of the upper platform, and overall this toggle. In fact, we made nearly a dozen prototypes in the process before landing on what this is now. We continue to try new things. We've continued to test new upper holding positions, different ways of holding it, like upside down, and a whole bunch of different styles. But still, this style has continued to remain the favorite among myself and other pilots. Ultimately, with these toggles, we're really not trying to make a fortune. We don't sell nearly enough of them to make a huge amount of money nor a living from them. It is more so about making a toggle that we want to fly, and also that the customers and people out there in the paramotor world also enjoy flying. Nothing makes me happier than seeing somebody flying one of our toggles. That's just my creation being used in the real world, and there's just something about that that's really fun and exciting. One thing I do want to add is that any glider purchase through us here at Backcountry PPG comes with its own set of game changer toggles. You just need to let us know which toggle you would like, if you would like it. So if you are looking for a new wing, whether that's a beginner wing, intermediate wing, or advanced wing, an ozone glider, or a different brand, we carry every make, model, brand, style, and everything in between, from paramotor wings to paragliding wings. We would be more than happy to help you figure out what your next glider would be, and if you want to add a game changer toggle to it, we'd be happy to help you there. We'll even install them if you're willing to ship the glider to us and have us put it on and ship it back to you. With all of that being said, thank you guys for watching. My name is Trevor Steele, and I will see you all in the next video.